Disney have a villain problem. Hey guys, it's the Pink King here. This weekend is going to be the last major releases of the year, with the highly anticipated Sonic 3 finally coming out, and oh boy, that sure looks like a good old time. I cannot wait to see these fun characters, quirky adventures, and Shadow with a gun. Yep, nothing but good times lie ahead. Oh yeah, and there's Mufasa as well. Look, I wasn't going to see Mufasa initially, but my local theatres are stupid and are releasing the Sonic movie way later than the Mufasa movie, so I suppose while I wait for that, I will watch Mufasa and then come back to you guys with why you shouldn't watch it, because although there's a chance it might be good, the chances are incredibly slim. But seeing as Mufasa is also coming out, it made me want to discuss a certain topic that has been rattling around in my brain for a long time now. And that's the fact that Disney has a serious problem with their villains recently. Whether it be the embarrassment of King Magnifico from Wish or the complete non-existence of one in Moana 2, Disney have been doing very poorly in the area that they used to be kings in. And that's only with the animated films. I don't think I need to mention how subpar the recent Marvel, Star Wars, or even remake villains are, because they're bad enough as they are that they don't really need that much explaining. But there is one I want to talk about today specifically, and that's with Scar. Scar is by far my favourite Disney villain of all time. His evil was so haunting and memorable that no matter how old I get, I can still recite every word he says in the movie off by heart with ease. But I cannot say the same for the live action remake version of Scar. So to help shed some light on the villainy problem at Disney, I'm going to compare both versions of Scar and explain why one did work and the other one fell flat on its face. Starting with one very important thing when it comes to making a villain, the voice acting. Voicing an animated villain is probably the most key part to making that villain work, and it really shows who knows what they're doing and who doesn't know what they're doing in the final result. With Jeremy Irons, he provides a devilish sly to his performance of Scar. He's very calculated in his approach, with every sentence just oozing with personality. You can tell exactly the type of character he is just from how he talks alone. With his very fake friendly nature with young Simba and Mufasa, to then his very cold and stern approach with the hyenas, you really get a sense of who this character is, and you believe it just by how invested Irons is in the role. But then you look at Chiwetel's Scar, sorry if I butchered that name, I probably did, and when you look at his version of Scar, you just appreciate Irons' performance a lot more. This version of Scar just sucks. They tried to make him more serious, but end up just making him more boring. Every line said just sounds like he was either bored or confused while reading it. It's not organic in the slightest, and comes across as incredibly confusing. There's no emotion through the entire movie with him either, so it's almost impossible to read what he's thinking, which is something that he should be doing, especially considering the fact that the design doesn't really provide any emotion either. Disney thought that simply telling the same lines again was the key, when in actuality, the way you perform said lines is the very thing that makes those lines iconic. Don't believe me? Well then just take a listen to this real quick and tell me you don't hear a clear difference in both of these performances.
Why, if it isn't my big brother descending from on high to mingle with the commoners. That was today? Oh, I feel simply awful. Must have slipped my mind.
Well, look who's come down to mingle with the commoners.
Was that today? Must have slipped my mind. Of course, I meant no disrespect towards His Majesty.
You see what I mean? It's the same lines, but one has a clear soul, and you can just imagine the emotions that are coming through just through the audio alone, and the other one just sounds like someone who doesn't want to be there, and thus you get no clear image or understanding of their performance. And for a villain, especially an animated one, you simply cannot do that. But of course, it's not just voice acting, but also the stuff villains do that solidify them as real threats. Now, despite the remake practically being shot for shot the exact same as the original movie, it actually manages to completely miss out on this fact as well. Ask yourself this: why do the hyenas follow Scar in the first place? What is it about Scar that makes them fall in line? Well, in the remake, there's nothing. Yeah, it's not like the hyenas were struggling before they met Scar, they seem to be doing pretty fine considering how many of them there are. And even when Scar does show his face to them, he just talks about be prepared and then that's it. The most we see Scar actually do is hit Mufasa off a cliff, and even then it was just a quick slap, it was no venom behind it at all. Then take a look at the animated Scar. It's very believable in how he took over the hyenas, as from what we've seen, they're just a bunch of idiots who are in short supply, who couldn't even kill two defenseless cubs. And so it's far more believable that Scar would be able to worm his way in. And even in his Be Prepared song, he's far more intimidating, he's showing authority. Hell, he even kills two of the hyenas just for the song. And then in the Stampede scene, look at him. It's not a meaningless slap when he goes after Mufasa, it's a very intentional and evil moment. And you can tell that all in the way his face looks and how he talks. Despite the original being way shorter as a movie, there's far more to chew on here. One villain shows true presence and intimidation, and the other shows nothing. And you know, that's the big key to Disney's villain problem here. All of their recent villains do practically nothing. If you recall my Moana 2 review, you'd remember that the villain in that movie doesn't even show up until the mid-credit scene. Yeah, after the movie's already over, he's just been a storm for the entirety of the movie, with no motivation, no goals, and no real face to get invested in. They tried to act like it was some Thanos-level stinger, when in reality, it just wasn't. They tried to copy the homework of everyone else, including themselves, but failed to realize what it was that made these villains good in the first place. And that's kinda tragic. Because this is the same studio that gave us some true definitions of villainy. They were the ones who set the standard, but now can't even do that. And what makes this even more obvious is the fact that every one of their competitors have been able to outclass them in villains recently. Like Death from The Last Wish, or Spot from Across the Spider-Verse, or even Sentinel Prime and Megatron from Transformers 1. All of these other villains have been true standouts in their respected movies, and yet Disney, despite being pioneers of the genre, haven't been able to make a truly memorable one ever since Wreck-It Ralph from 12 years ago. And I get it, it's popular to hate on Disney, especially right now, but I genuinely hope that they can get back to making some real good villains again, because without them, we wouldn't even have classics like Scar. So I'm hopeful that the future provides bigger and badder villains, but I'm not confident it will. I don't know. But what do you guys think? Which villains are your favourite, and why? I really want to see what you guys think are the best villains, and why you think so. Leave your thoughts in the comments. I want to have a little debate with you guys and see which ones are your favourites. Don't forget, if you enjoyed this video and you want more in-depth breakdowns just like this, then be sure to like the video and subscribe. Doing that helps me make these videos possible and make them a lot faster. So, like the video and subscribe. And with that, peeps, it's been the Pink King here. And I will see you all next time.